This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go!
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate. We love to argue. You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go! Let's go! Go! And a good morning, Eagle fans, on a football Friday. You got your Mac and Mac guys. Well, at least we got two Mac and Mac guys for an hour. Johnny Mac's got to get over to the NovaCare complex for some Eagle reporting. We get Big Double B, Barrett Brooks, in here in hour number 2. But we're ready to talk Eagles football with you for the next 2 hours on Wentz week. Oh, we'll talk plenty about that. But before we do, Johnny Mac, you watched Thursday Night Football last night?
A little bit. I didn't make it to the end. I just
you didn't see the fumble Ruski that added a touchdown to the Browns score at the end of the game.
I'm impressed with the way Kevin Stefanski has got JAKIB Brissett playing. I didn't know JAKIB Brissett was that good on quarterback sneaks. They kept talking 29 of 30, 30 of 31. That's impressive.
See, I didn't know you were going to go there. Is that a Belichick thing?
It might be. Tom's really good at it.
Brady never gets stopped. He always converts on 4th and 1.
Yeah. There is a feel for it. You got to find the little bubble, and some guys go too quick and they try to hurry. There is a feel to it. I didn't realize he was that good at it. But maybe that does make some sense.
Yeah, it might be a Belichick thing. Who knows? But I'll tell you what about Thursday night. And Amazon, I've got it. I know people are complaining because they don't have it, don't want to pay for it. I don't know about you, but I've had Amazon Prime for years because my wife gets so much stuff delivered.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same way. I mean,
just pays to have it with the amount of money you save in delivery charges. So that was never a question for me. I got to give Kirk Herbstreit some props here. He's fit right in. I know how good a college football color analyst he was, but it's a different game, different feel. You got no different thing. Listening to Herbstreit seems like he's been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah, he's good. I have no issues with Kirk. When it first came down that he was going to do Amazon, I was more upset that he was leaving college. I didn't know he was going to do both, and I figured because he's getting so much money to do the NFL games now that he's doing both. Yeah, I mean, and he gives I think he's got such a vast knowledge of college football players, especially the younger ones, that I think the rest of us are playing catch up on. So he can add some value from that perspective as well. I like him. I
think Herbstreit and Michaels are a very good team. And I know most people don't like Thursday Night Football more as a group, NFL players, than anything else. But I've dismissed that if you told them you would take X amount less in your check every week and you only got to do it once a week because this is how much we get paid. And, oh, by the way, Amazon paying even more, so the percentage would probably go up. If you ask the players to all take a pay cut and they'd never play another Thursday night game, you know what the vote would be? About 98 to 2. We'll play Thursday.
I mean, they're from their perspective, they're saying, well, we're going to play the game. We're just going to play it on Sunday, or Monday or whatever. But I don't like Thursday Night Football either. throws off the weeks. Not only, multiple weeks, it throws off both weeks. Sort of a mini buy, coming in, going out. It's not susceptible, but teams don't prepare anyway now. So what's the difference now? So that was my big argument. There's no way you can prep for a Thursday night game. There's just no way. There's not enough time. But the whole schedule has become that. So that part of it's wavering for me. Well, that's what they do anyway. I mean, look at how many players the Eagles rested on Thursday now. It just keeps growing. So that part of it is kind of out the window. But overall, it just seems off. And the NFL is, we all know, it's king when it comes to television. So and now Amazon's in it. They're going to have, not this year, but they're moving forward. They're going to have a Prime Day game when they have Amazon Prime Day and sort of do a tie-in there, which makes sense from their perspective. They're making a lot of money, but you're talking Thursday game, Friday game, Saturday game, Sunday game. It's too much, Jody.
I have absolutely warmed up to Thursday nights. I couldn't stand it when they first started it, that Sunday is supposed to be the NFL day. And I didn't like Sunday night when they first did it. Monday was cool. Monday was different. But do we really need a Sunday after watching for 10 straight hours? Do we need more? Oh, I've warmed up to Thursday nights.
I'll tell you where I've changed, Jody. If you gave me the option to eliminate Thursday night or Monday nights, I'd eliminate Monday night before Thursday night. Now, I'd eliminate all night games. But if I were king of the world,
if you were the king of the world, Sunday at 1, there'd be no 4 o'clock games either.
Exactly. Well, 4,
slot it in there for Sunday at 1.
4, I'll let it go. But that would be my first king of the world decree.
See, the one that I would get rid of would be Sunday night. Because we've already dedicated 10 hours of our day on Sunday. Now we got to go 3.5 more.
You've been waiting all night you'll be waiting all day for Sunday night.
They get very good singers, attractive women to sing that song, which I like the open, but then I could do away with the game. Can we just play the open and then let me watch Sunday night television or something else? Anywho, I thought it was a good broadcast last night. It turned out to be a good game. You had an onside kick in the last minute, which could have actually changed the outcome of the game. Didn't, but at least it was hanging in the balance for.
Boy, the Steelers stink too. I never thought I'd say that. Everybody is cyclical, but I mean, it's difficult when you lose a Hall of Fame quarterback. But come on. I've been saying it since day one. Why trot Mitchell Trubisky out there? I don't know if Kenny Pickett can play. I don't think anybody knows, but he might be able to play. At least there's some uncertainty. I know Mitchell Trubisky can't play. I know. That book is closed.
You want to talk about knowing. I think you and I both agree that Aaron Donald is the best defensive football player in the game, maybe the best overall player in the game. But I'll tell you who might be the most important player in the game is TJ Watt. That Steelers defense is just flat out different without him. There's a reason that Jacoby Brissett can convert on every 4th and 1 and completed about 75% of his passes last night. The Steelers defense just isn't the same without Watt. They didn't get any pressure on Brissett. I think the Rams, if Donald went down, I think they might be better at replacing him than the Steelers are at replacing Watt. But you're right. The Steelers did not look all that good, either offensively or defensively last night. All right, let's get to the Birds. You mentioned Thursday, big work day for the Eagles. Got to get some work in before the commit. No, 9 guys on the rest list again. At least they did get Quez back. Looks like he could be a go. And, Johnny, do you got inside information? Have you beaten down the competitive advantage that Nick Sirianni is always looking for? Can you tell the Birds 365 streamers who will be returning kicks for the Eagles on Sunday?
Quez Watkins, to this point, I mean, this is what I talked about with Dave Zangaro yesterday that people would have saw if we didn't have technical difficulties. But this is one
for all our streamers who are on right now. I guess we need to apologize and explain a little bit. John and I had no idea that the stream had frozen.
Yeah, We did a whole
I
interview.
picked up on it a little bit with our streaming commentators. Thank you, guys. That the stream had frozen. They made some kind of a Jody looked like a unhappy Santa Claus because of the white goatee. That's just happened to be when it froze. We had no idea. We just were grinding along.
We were doing a show. Yeah.
Joe interviewing Dave's and he was great. And oh, by the way, at least we'll put it up afterward. No, the stream was corrupted, so we couldn't even put it up after the fact. So we apologize for that. But truth be told, we had no idea.
Yeah,
the show
we went on. We went on for the whole show. For those wondering, so we did the whole show, even though we tapped out a little bit early, but.
So yes, please alert the people when Zangaro said yesterday, since nobody heard
yeah,
it
I mean,
for you and
look,
me.
Nobody, and Dave and I are around this team every day, and neither of us think we know more about football than Nick Sirianni or Michael Clay. But this is a decision that mystifies me because Quez Watkins is so bad at kick returning, and he's a good player. He's a good receiver. You saw him beat the Vikings over the top. He's a tremendous speed guy. But to be a kick returner, look, it's great to have long speed. They always talk about long speed. But the key to great kick returners, you got to have that power as well. And, you got to go north-south, and then you're expected to break that first tackle. You're expected to get through. And that's not Quez's game. Quez's game is running by people, not powering through people. So, in the modern era, I always talk about the best kick returner I've ever seen is Cordero Patterson. I mean, that is a big, physical, fast, guy who can break tackles. Quez can't do it. The only thing Minnesota did right in their game planning, the only thing is that they looked at the Eagles kick return game and said, you know what? We're going to mortar kick this thing because this guy's not capable, and we're going to back him up. And they did. And I don't think anybody's paying attention to that because why would they? The Eagles just simply moved down the field with ease. But if you're playing a good defense and you're backed up inside the 20 all the time, Jody, that's going to be an issue to go that long consistently and those kinds of long drives. Again, it didn't matter on Monday night, so everybody's putting it in the back on the back burner. But that'll be an issue. And, look, they don't have a great kick returner. We all know that. But if you put Boston Scott back there, was my Dave mentioned Britton Covey, but I think Britton would be same as Quez. I mean, Britton's a good punt returner because he's very shifty, but obviously he's very small. He's not very physical. I would go Boston Scott. He's only going to get you to the 25, maybe occasionally the 30, but that's a lot better. That 5 to 10 yards is a lot better, and it would be very meaningful. And I know we're nitpicking. I know it. I know this team is playing great, but that's an issue. And the fact that they don't recognize it is maybe the bigger issue.
No, I think they recognize it. I don't think they necessarily have an answer. They don't believe they have an answer. I'll disagree with you on one thing. More so than the ability to break a tackle. I think returning kicks is a field thing. You have to be able to read the field. You have to be able to judge your blockers. You have to be able to find that hole and get through it so that first tackle comes 5 yards further down the field, first contact. And Devin Hester is the best I ever saw. Your guy, the ex-Viking, is pretty damn good, but I'll take Hester. And he was not a big guy by any stretch of the imagination, but he was tremendous at being able to read it. Now, you have to put the time and effort in that the hole is there, that your return team gets their blocks at the right time, and there is a crease for him to find and go through. I just don't think the Eagles put enough time and effort into it. I know Michael Clay's going to check, but they might not have.
And by the way, Jody, in the short portion of practice we're allowed to watch this time of year, they spend a lot of extra time on special teams, a lot of extra time. So maybe
is it that, or is that just because you've only got X amount of minutes and some of it is special teams, or
Well,
they leave it for you guys to see? Because that way John McMullen can't be going on Birds 365 and tipping all the secrets of what their actual game plan is from the line of scrimmage.
Well, and maybe I have to rewind because I said, they haven't been working on it, but they don't do it. It's not normal. So I've been in a lot of practices, a lot of Nick Sirianni practices. It was not normal. It was a change. So, and by the way, they were practicing.
So you said they're working on it more now than they did last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it probably isn't, and it wasn't kick returns. It was coverage as well. So they're not happy with their coverage as well. They haven't been good on special teams. They haven't been good on special teams since Nick got here, to be honest, with the exception of Jake Elliott. And even that, they got a blocked field goal. So they understand that third phase is not performing up to the other two phases. So, they are aware of it, but from the decision-making standpoint, that is such an easy decision for me. It's always mind-boggling when things look so obvious and people don't pull the trigger. It's always bizarre to me. It's always bizarre. There's no reason to, I don't even think Quez likes doing it, to be honest, because he's not. I mean, you're not going to affect him. He's going to be the third receiver. He's still going to be able to run past people. You say, look, Quez, all right. They did the same thing last year, Jody. They started the season with Quez as the kick returner. He was really, really bad at it. And then they moved to Jalen Reagor. And Jalen Reagor was better. And you know what the fans think of Jalen Reagor. Yeah. So there you have it.
It is a nitpick, but it is something that hopefully doesn't come back and bite the Eagles this week against the Commanders. We're hoping to punch up Grant Paulson, who covers the Commanders for 106.7 The Fan down in D.C. He's supposed to jump aboard here in the next 5 minutes or so. All right, one more quickie before we get to Grant, because I don't know if we'll have time afterwards, because you got to run out, and Barrett is going to join me for hour number 2. The captains head to the field for the beginning of the game. The coin is flipped. The Eagles win. What should, not what will, because I already know the answer to what will. What should the Eagles do?
The Eagles should defer this week.
They should not. They should absolutely not. The Washington defense stinks.
Yeah, it's not about
offense is killing it right now. You have to roll your offense, go right down the field, stick in the end zone, make a statement on the road. This is our house.
It's not about the Washington defense. It's not about the Eagles offense. It's about the only reason I don't defer, I usually agree with deferring. The only reason I don't defer is if I know I'm up against it from the other team's offense. In other words, I know the other team's offense is going to score a whole bunch of points. Then I want to shorten the game. I want the ball. I want to keep it away from insert name, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, whomever. I want to keep the football away from them. Every other time, I agree with the Belichick theory. Defer, try to sandwich the first half and the second half with points. I think that's the prudent way to think about it. But there are certain times when you have to be realistic, and it's very hard for teams to be realistic. You saw it with Minnesota. They defer, boom. They do. Think about Minnesota. They defer, Jody. They do a great job on the kickoff. They do the mortar kick. They got it scouted. They get them all backed up. They got the Eagles at 3rd and 19 after a penalty. 3rd and 13. Sorry, they give up a 19-yard pass. You can't stop anybody. Your paper, that's a different situation. The Eagles are a good football team. They're the better football team. Defer, try to sandwich the first and the second half with scores.
Except for the fact that right now the Philadelphia Eagle offense is clicking. It doesn't look like it can be stopped. The Washington defense stinks. They're giving up an average of 400 yards a game. Yeah, I'll take the football. Thank you very much. And I'll go down the field and I'll score a touchdown and I'll set the momentum for the entire game. You're right. There is a line of logic, and the Eagles are beholden to it as to why you would defer. I say, except you need to analyze the two teams on the field. And if the analysis tells you it's better to take the football and make a statement with your first possession, that's what you do. And you put the analytics.
Well, we both agree on that in the playoffs back in January. You win the toss in Tampa, you take the stinking football. You don't defer.
Well, that's because you had fear of the
100%.
Tampa Bay offense. I'm telling you right now, the Washington football team, the Commanders, the Skins, whatever the hell you want to call them, should have fear of the Eagle offense. You don't think the Eagles offense is good enough to say, give us the football, we're going to march down the field.
But my point, the Eagles defense is good enough to get a 3 and out, and they get the football, and then they do it, and then you're in a better situation.
Who's been better this year, Eagles offense or Eagles defense for 2 games?
Well, the Eagles offense is number 1 ranked in the NFL.
Thank you very much.
I'm not concerned about the Washington offense. And that's the bigger issue for me. So the Eagles, when they get the ball, they'll move the ball. That's, they'll get the ball second.
The Washington offense has actually been better than their defense. So I would play to the strength of the Eagles and against the bigger weakness of the Washington.
And by the way, these sample sizes are so small.
I understand.
And Jody, I was thinking about it. It took me too long to come up with this. The Eagles are averaging 470 yards a game. They've been phenomenal on offense. At some point, a regression to the mean is coming. They're not going to average 470 yards a game. I was thinking about that game. That game, I can't believe this didn't stuck in my head. I told Tone on Football 24/7 yesterday. I said, throw out that Monday night game. Throw it out. That's an outlier. Like, throw out the Giants game last year when Jalen was so terrible. That's an outlier. You throw out the extremes and you look at the other games, but it's so early in the season, people aren't going to throw out that game. That was the Atlanta game last year, the opener. That was a rookie head coach with an embarrassing game plan, just getting completely overmatched. That was the Atlanta game last year. It took me too long to figure it out.
Let me, and again, we're hoping to get Grant Paulson up here. He hasn't checked in just yet. About this game coming up on Sunday, the fact that it is the Carson Wentz week game. You got a chance to be around Carson, listen to Carson do his post-game stuff, listen to everyone else on the team. I know you did a missive for JAKIBSports.com this week about his teammates, his former teammates, talking about him. You would think that Carson would be very motivated for this game. He kind of forced his way out of here in Philadelphia. He was on the record as saying he thought he was mishandled by the Eagles. You would think there would be a lot of motivation for Carson. I never thought of Carson as a guy who was moved by motivation, who in the moment of the game and what it meant to him and everything. I thought he was more robotic than he was emotional. Do you think Carson's game gets lifted or affected or in any way is different from just regular Carson Wentz, whatever that is right now, because it's his first game against the Eagles since
I mean, I look at Carson as stubborn. I look at him as hard-headed, but he's competitive. I think his biggest flaw as a player is trying to push everything on every play. The old adage, never give up on a play. That's him. Sometimes you as a quarterback in this league, you have to tip your cap to the defense if they're playing well. And if they're not giving you something on a particular play, maybe you got to throw the football away. Maybe you got to tuck it and get as much as you can. Number one, you got to protect the football. So many times you see Carson Wentz trying to extend plays, and that's when, way too long, holding on to the football way too long. You see a forced fumble, maybe it's interception, throwing the football late. Always trying to push the envelope, always trying to make something out of nothing. He does that against normal teams. Against the Eagles, he's going to be pressing even more, I would think. And maybe that's something Philadelphia can take advantage of. But no, he's a very competitive guy. You don't get to that level without being competitive. He's, his flaws are, like I said, he's stubborn. He had some really good coaching early in his career. Didn't always necessarily listen to it. Frank Reich, I tell this story all the time. Frank Reich is the nicest guy in the world. I mean, he's the type of guy who doesn't curse. He's the type of guy who will go to the PR department and say, "Oh, I didn't answer that question well. Tell John, tell whomever this," or he'll call you up. Yeah, he is the nicest guy in the world. I have never seen him so frustrated. It was the Carolina game in 2017 that sort of, I always say, was the demarcation line for us, who said this is a really good team. He put his shoulder down at the goal line to try to push in for a touchdown. And the Eagles have been, since the day he got here, they've been saying, "You're the quarterback. You can't get hurt. You can't be so reckless." I had never seen him so frustrated after that play. Carson just does what Carson wants to do. Very stubborn.
Yeah, I used to talk about that when Carson was here. I thought he brought his Dakota game here to Philadelphia, his subdivision game here to Philadelphia. You're playing bigger boys in the NFL now, Carson. You might have been able to get away with that on the subdivision collegiate level. You're not going to get away with that in the NFL. I hear what you're saying. All right, John McMullen, Jordan McDonald. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to contact Grant Paulson yet. Does a great job covering the Commanders down there.
Yeah, I was on Grant's show. Come on, Grant. Where are you?
Yeah, you did his show, and he's bagging us. The only thing I can think of is I asked him to come on like Sunday, or maybe it was even last week. I think I said in advance. Ask it in advance so we can do it, and let him pick his day. And he chose Friday early at 8:20. I sent him a reminder text last night. All right, so it was the fourth quarter of the Thursday night football game. I kind of forgot. Usually I try and send it out early at night. I looked down and go, oh, shoot, it's 10:35. This is late to send a text. But I did, and I sent two more this morning. We're hoping to hear from Grant Paulson. If we do, we'll get him up. If not, Johnny and I will continue to preview the upcoming game against the Commanders come Sunday at 1. That is one of the things I want to talk about. Eagle fans going down to Washington. I know J-Mac's going down. Maybe he's taking some Eagle fans with him. We'll find out when we come back here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Action News at 11 with Rick Williams. It's the team you trust to bring it all together. The stories that impact your community. A sports roundup for the locals. And the AccuWeather forecast you depend on. Action News at 11 with Rick Williams.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Welcome to Pondley Hockey. We've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lee Hockey a call.
John McMullen, I'm Jody McDonald. That makes this Mac here on Birds 365. Still haven't heard from Grant Paulson. I'm going to be ticked. I'm going to shoot him a nasty text when this show is over.
I'm going to say this is an alarm type thing. It's probably over.
Oh, you think he took a power hit like I do from time to time?
Although, it could be. Grant has kids. I think one time he was taking the kids to, and he did the show. So maybe it's kid related, but generally you got to be up early if you have kids. So
that's true.
Maybe I'm wrong.
That's why I'm surprised he hasn't responded to either of the two texts I sent him. But if Grant doesn't join us, we will shoulder on without him. That's the bad news. Good news is Devin Caney is going to join us here in hour number 2. I'm going to
miss Devin though.
Yes, you booked her and then you take off on her.
Yeah,
she should be as ticked at you as I am at Grant Paulson right now.
She should be picked at Nick Sirianni. You know,
that's true.
There's one thing about Nick, man. Normally football, like you could talk to Andy Reid today, and he's got his schedule set up for 2026. I mean, meticulous down to the. This Eagles they're all over the place with the schedule, man. All over the place.
They like flexibility. They like competitive advantage, even against the media, if they can get their hands on it. Nick Sirianni is willing to go there. But John's running out in hour number 2. Barrett Brooks going to jump aboard with me and Devin Caney from JAKIB Sports Eagles post-game show down in AC will be hopping aboard with us. I've never had Devin on as a guest before, so I'm very much looking forward to talking to her.
She's on WIP with you now too, as well.
She is. She's been doing shows with Rob Ellis, not with your show. Hey, she wants to stay up on Monday night till 2:00 in the morning. I will gladly share my mic with her. I don't know if she's willing to do just that. One thing I want to get to before we get back into talking birds here. I got to give props to one of our guys on the stream. Manny Martinez. And Manny, thanks for doing so. There are a whole bunch of recognizable names here who stream in every day and chime in on the stream as well. And we love all of you guys. I don't recognize Manny's name as much as I do the others. He makes a legit point. He's calling me on the carpet, and he's got a point to make. He said, "Stop it! Don't be a hypocrite. Carson Wentz can't put a shoulder down and try and go for an extra yard. Yet we sit here and sing the praises of Jalen Hurts when he turns the ball up the field and scores on a play that no one thought he had a chance to possibly score on the other night against the Vikings." He's right. We get all excited when Jalen Hurts does it.
He's not right from my perspective. No,
okay.
That's the strength of Jalen Hurts' game. I take advantage of the quarterback I have. One of the things I've said about the Eagles, and I give Nick Sirianni credit, look, Jalen Hurts is different from a movement skill basis. Jalen Hurts is at a different level, at an elite level when it comes. We always talk. So many people want to turn Jalen Hurts into this pocket quarterback, which I completely disagree with. And here we are about to enter week 3 of the NFL season, and Justin Herbert, who is my favorite young quarterback, I freely admit, my man crush on him, broken ribs, Mr. Pocket quarterback, Mr. Strong Arm, and everything about that is true.
And by the way, it was a clean hit. Was not a cheap hit.
Clean hit. Jalen Hurts, mentioning those 2 touchdowns, great runs, both of them against Minnesota. The first week, the 17 carries. Hey, Jody, he's standing. Week 3, he's standing. He's healthy. He's ready to go. He's in the MVP race. And oh, by the way, when he did get hurt last year, he was in the pocket.
Here's the one thing I will say in defense of the quasi-hypocritical stance I just took. Like I said, Carson Wentz was doing it up in the Dakotas, in the subdivision, in the league with teams that play in states that don't truly have a population. So he wasn't playing against the top flight college guys who got their name called out during the NFL draft on his given draft year. Jalen Hurts was playing first in the SEC, then in the Big 12. So he's going up against man-sized future NFL defenders on a week-in, week-out basis. Carson Wentz wasn't. So Carson's abilities and beliefs in those abilities might not have been as set for the NFL as Jalen's were. He wasn't tested running against guys who were going to eventually play in the NFL. Certainly Hurts was. That's my lone defense because, yeah, I do get more excited when Hurts does it than when Wentz
Well, he's
did it.
better at it. I mean, that to me is I take advantage of the talents of my players. The Eagles wanted correctly to turn Carson Wentz into more of a pocket passer. Carson Wentz is, especially now that the injuries have taken hold in his career, he needs to be a pocket passer. And by the way, he has been in Washington early in the season. Rarely has run the ball anymore. I think 650 of his 658 yards are passing. Different players, not even close as far as their skill set.
And I'll stand by this. I've been saying this for 20 years on Sports Talk Radio. I think a quarterback who can run is a good thing. If that is in addition to his ability to pass the football. Last year for me, Jalen Hurts, quarterback throwing, quarterback running. What was Jalen Hurts better at? It was actually running. I don't think you can get to your ultimate goal, Super Bowl, win a championship, if the quarterback's number one strength is his running. If his running is a bigger strength than his passing. I would like to have a quarterback who can run, who can make plays with his leg when it breaks down. But if it's too big a part of a game, no quarterback has ever won a championship that way, with a quarterback whose number one strength is his running game. By year 2, Jalen Hurts is basically already caught up. Last year, first year starting, he was a better runner than he was a passer. Anybody want to argue that with me? You don't want to argue that with me, do you, McMullen?
Well, I hear what you're saying. He's a better runner than he is a thrower, but it's not like the Eagles were using Jalen Hurts like he was Bobby Douglas, in the 1972 Bears. You might get that reference. Nobody else will, Jody, but their offense wasn't like built around Jalen Hurts' running ability. He's just really good at it. They still throw the ball more. He still threw it. He needed to get better as a passer. So I guess it kind of depends how you define it. Is he a better runner than he is a passer? He still is. He probably always will be because he's a great runner. Maybe as he gets older and loses some of that. He's a great runner. I mean, he might always be a better runner, but that doesn't mean they're going to be building the offense around quarterback keepers. So I hear what you're saying, but he's still a better runner than a thrower today.
Yeah, but it's I don't even know that anymore. That he has become so much better at passing the football that it's damn close now. Last year wasn't close. This year it's close, and there may come a time in his career, maybe before the season is over, maybe 2 years down the line, maybe 4 years, where you go, all right, well, he's a passer. He runs only when necessary and only when forced to. We're not there yet, but he has made such strides, and it's 2 games in. I know, it's only 2 games. Small sample size, as Johnny Mac likes to say. But he's throwing the football very well. So.
Well, he is. And, one, I'm calling a bit of an outlier, his best performance. I mean, look, I I brought this up to Tone. You're well versed in the betting markets. If I told you, you got the field, so you got 15 more regular season games, Jody. 15 more. I'm going to take. You're never going to see 83.9% the rest of this season. You can have the other 15 games. What are you taking?
Yeah, 83 is a big number.
Yeah.
You just don't do 83.
Outlier.
True.
What I'm saying from a skill set standpoint, just from a pure trait standpoint, he is a better runner than a thrower. That doesn't mean the Eagles are going to build the offense around, like I said, quarterback draws and quarterback lead plays and quarterback power options. But from a pure skill set level, he's the second best running quarterback in the world. Is he the second best passing quarterback in the world? No.
So then let me ask you this. Does that mean the Eagles, are they going to have this outlier season? Because no team, 0 for, is this live 52, 57? Where are we up to? How many Super Bowls we played?
Good question.
I think it's 57. I think this is LIV.
I always have to look that up now.
I think we're on 57. So the first 56 that have been decided, never has a team won the Super Bowl where their quarterback's main attribute, number one attribute, is running the football.
Yeah, but
he's a better runner than
that's where we're differing.
Those quarterbacks are 0 for 56.
That's where we're differing. The Eagles last year, where you said he was still a better runner than thrower, so we agree on last year. They weren't a run-based offense around Jalen Hurts. They ran it more than anybody else, but they were still threw it more than they ran it. And for, that sounds imposing, 56 Super Bowls, but the game was completely different for 40 of them, conservatively.
Right. And yet it's still 0 for 56, even with the changes in the game. One thing that hasn't changed is no quarterback who you can look at, evaluate, and say, is he a better passer or is he a better runner? No quarterback has ever won the Super Bowl that you would say, well, he's actually a better runner than he is a passer.
But I guess all right, we'll use Steve Young. Is he a better runner than a passer?
No.
Now, the assumption is he's a pretty good runner.
What about not a better runner than a passer?
What about Cam Newton? He didn't win. But I'm saying, is he a better runner than a thrower? I'm asking a question. I don't know.
When Cam went to the Super Bowl, that was probably pretty damn close. You might have said better runner, but again, he lost.
But I don't.
0 for 56 is 0 for 56.
That's a meaningless stat, Jody.
Oh, okay.
First of all,
please give me something that you can tell me that I can bet this weekend that I'm 56 for 56 in.
Because you've been around this game, your adult life, the game is completely different. So right off the bat, I'm lopping off 40 of them, and that's probably being conservative. You can probably lop off 45, 46 of them. So the game has completely changed. As you see the way the college game is being played, as when there's 32 teams and the Phillip Rivers and the Drew Breeses drop off and Father Time finally comes for Tom Brady, and they continue to drop off and they continue to drop off, they continue to drop off, and everybody's playing the same damn system with the same type of quarterback, and somebody wins down the road, whoever that is. I'm not going to sit here on Birds 365 and say, oh, this is the reason why, because the game has changed. The game has morphed. The game is going in a different direction. So I don't care what we'll use your Jets. When Joe Namath was shocking the world, that's not meaningful to 2022. It's a completely different game. So that's when I say that's a meaningless stat. I'm sorry, that's a meaningless stat.
So
it's
only the last 10 or 12 years did the NFL mean anything.
But again, and your definition is so, like, if Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl, Jody, you're going to say it's because of his passing ability.
Yes.
And it's because he's become a better passer than a better
unless
rusher.
he's still a better runner than a passer. I'll fairly evaluate it.
He is a better runner. He's always going to be a better, maybe until he turns 35.
And if he's the one who finally breaks the trend, I'll give him a lot of credit. But I'm just noting the fact that running quarterbacks are 0 for 56. But Jody,
what I'm saying is, if they win the Super Bowl, he's probably going to throw for 3,800 yards, and he's probably going to run for 750. So what do you, I mean, what kind of, what is the threshold? What is the he's always
winning the game.
But he's always going to pass for more yardage than he runs. So what is
John, I asked you to set the threshold, and you did. Thank you very much. Is he right now a better runner than a passer? Is his strength of his game more so his running than his passing? You said yes, and I note that Super Bowl winning quarterbacks you've never been able to say that about a Super Bowl winning quarterback before.
But the point is, it's a rigged game. If they go to where the Super Bowl, it's a rigged game because he's going to throw for more. So you're going to say he's become a better passer. And he's always, again, he's the second best running quarterback in the world. He's never going to be the second best passing quarterback in the world. He's never going to be that. I'm sorry, Eagles fans. I'm sorry, Jody McDonald. He's never going to be that. Is he going to improve? Yes. He is one of the best running quarterbacks who's ever lived. To right now already, he's one of the best running quarterbacks who ever lived.
See, you're comparing him to the other quarterbacks in the league right now. I'm just comparing him to himself. Is his strength more so passing or running? Which is it? Yay or nay? Throw or run? When he achieves the passing has surpassed his running, then that would make him a better passing quarterback than a running quarterback. Not because he's the second best running quarterback, other than he's the 12th best passing quarterback. That would not be my determination. I would be able to judge it with my own eyes.
Then I'll ask you this. Then I'll put this simply: do you think, barring injury, of course, barring ripping up his knee and something which completely takes away his running ability, do you think he can ever become a better passer than he is as a runner?
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, yeah, then we disagree. Yeah. I mean, he is one of the best who's ever lived at running the football. He's never going to reach that level as a passer. Never going to reach that level as a passer. And by the way, that means the Eagles can never win a Super Bowl, and I don't agree with that.
I'll give you a guy who I would absolutely compare to Jalen Hurts in that way. Randall. When Randall came into the league, at one point, Randall was a runner. His strength was his ability to just take off and run. Randall became a better throwing quarterback over the course of his career. There was one point, I don't know what year it was, year 3, year 4, year 5, I'd have to go back and check the stats, where I said, all right, well, now he's a better thrower than he is a passer. So it can be done. It has been done. Now, Randall did never win the big game, but to just it can be done.
By the way, you could say that about Donovan McNabb. You could say that move quickly. But again, it was a different game where quarterbacks who could do that were forced away from doing that. They're no longer forced away as much as doing that. The game has changed. They were literally forced. I mean, this has been an argument that, African American quarterbacks and the way they've been typecasted, and they say, no, you got to throw from the pocket. Donovan McNabb even talked about it, felt the need to develop into more of a pocket quarterback. The game has changed. So, it's kind of like, to me, the Trent Dilfers of the world, the guys who won Super Bowls that were at best average quarterbacks. Everything can happen, if you build up everything around them. Trent Dilfer, nobody's going to sit there and say, well, Trent Dilfer's a Super Bowl level quarterback. He won a Super Bowl because everything else was built up around him properly and the stars aligned. Nick Foles, Jeff Hostetler as backup quarterbacks. These things, now, they don't happen often. But if lightning strikes, lightning strikes.
All right. Speaking of lightning striking, let's punch him up here just for nothing else. A quickie 5-minute, 10-minute spot. Grant Paulson from the Fan Down in our nation's capital, good enough to jump in with us. We'll give him a pass because he either forgot or had computer issues or whatever. It's good to see his smiling face. Grant, we'll just keep you for a couple minutes because Johnny's got to run. Carson Wentz, was he believable to you this week when he said just another game against the Eagles?
No chance, Jody Mack. I wasn't born yesterday. Hey, we've all had relationships, right? I mean, we haven't all been NFL quarterbacks, but there's no way. This is a business about humans, right? And Carson Wentz is human. There is no way this is another game. Zippy chance, not a belief in the world that what he said was true. Now, I'll say this. I do take him at his word, and I do think it's true because we can relate to this too, that when the game starts, I don't think it'll be on his mind as he's like taking a snap in shotgun or dropping back and surveying and progressing through reads. But all of his prep this week, there's no doubt in my mind. He would love to play great. He would love to beat the Eagles. The way I said it on my show, guys, was if he got to pick a game this season to have 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, it would be against the Eagles, right? This means a lot to him. He wants to play well. He's got a lot of help. McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson. This is a tremendous trio of wide receivers. Logan Thomas, the tight end, is back healthy and playing well. The offensive line was terrible in the first half against the Lions, but has been really good dating back to last year when they were ranked 6th via PFF. So he's not doing this on his own. He's got a chance to look good. There's a reason he's played as well as he has through 2 games. They got a pretty good offense and a pretty good scheme, but absolutely not. You guys know better. This game means so much to him.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be able to get that 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, though, Grant, because I don't know if you know, but the 85 Bears are coming to town. So, I mean, the hype is unreal around this team. You see it after Monday night. Jalen Hurts is now number 3 on the betting markets when it comes to MVP. Nick Sirianni, Coach of the Year, number 2. Eagles are 10-1 to go to the Super Bowl. What are they thinking down in Washington? Are they cowering in fear of this powerful juggernaut?
They are, actually, yes. Which, the team isn't, obviously. That's not how teams think or operate. But the fan base certainly is in that, number one, I don't think the fan base thinks highly of this team. They're beaten down. It's been 30 years since Washington's been good. They haven't won a playoff game since 2005 when I was a junior in high school. So, I mean, they are not particularly excited about the matchup. To your point, I do believe the hype on the Eagles is getting a little bit out of hand. I mean, it's only been 2 weeks and we're so reactionary. I would ask if this was week 10 and week 11 and they beat the Lions the way they did, and I know they handled them and it wasn't indicative of the score necessarily, but then they beat the Vikings in the way that they did on primetime. If those were just 2 games mid-season, would we be saying some of the same things? I mean, I'm looking at some power rankings where they're like 3rd behind the Bills and the Chiefs now. It's a little bit out of hand. It's a little bit crazy. That's not to say that the Eagles aren't better. They should win. That's not to say that the Eagles shouldn't win the NFC East because I think they're the best team in the division. But you just watch football every week, and you see these teams, other than the Bills so far, there really isn't a team that looks like it's above some type of weak regression, right? I mean, we think teams are really good, and then they lay an egg. Survivor pools are getting destroyed every single week. So you got a short week. You're on the road. Those 2 things, as a general rule, are disastrous for teams. After Monday Night Football, to have a short week and to hit the road, generally the percentage of playing like you're used to drops off substantially. Now, it's a minimal road trip, obviously, down 95, and it doesn't seem like that big of a deal that you have 1 less day rest than a team you're better than. But my point is just look up some of the Sharp analytics from Warren Sharp on that.
Yeah.
That's the best team normally to bet against is a team on short rest that's traveling. So If you're Washington, look, the Eagles have not yet really played a game they want back. Almost every team in football is. You hope that this is the week that happens.
All right, Grant, two things. Expectations. Know you know these guys are on top of everything. What you expected the Commanders to be before the season ever started. One thing that has surprised you positively and one thing that has surprised you negatively. That they're better than you thought they were going to be 2 weeks ago. And damn, I thought they'd be better at this than they have been for the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, so I was excited about their receiver core. It's better than I thought by far. In that I was hopeful that Curtis Samuel would be healthy, but I got to see it as to believe it mode. Miracle on 34th Street style. Like last year, this guy, Curtis Samuel, every week we heard he was going to play, he was going to make an impact, and it just didn't happen. It was like dangling something in front of us, and then we go reach it, and he was gone. Now he's healthy, and he's everything that they've kind of promised. 20 targets through 2 weeks. I mean, the offense is effectively built around Curtis Samuel in that, like Deebo Samuel, he is all over the place. He lines up outside, inside in the slot primarily. He's in the backfield. They give him carries. They give him jet sweeps. I mean, he is really a fixture in everything that they do. So because of that element that I wasn't banking on, you've got McLaurin. You guys know this. He's got the most receiving yards against the Eagles since he came into the league. Yeah. He's really good. You got Jahan Dotson, who's the first rookie, I think, in 20 years or something to have 3 touchdown catches in his first 2 weeks, who at Penn State is the truth. I mean, this guy's a great route runner, a technician, good hands. And then you had Curtis Samuel as a playmaker to that. This is, in my opinion, and I've looked through all the years, you guys might have a take on this. This is the best wide receiver core Carson Wentz has played with, and I don't think it's close. So you add the element of Samuel as a ball carrier to that, and really their offensive line, their tight ends, it's a good offense, better than I would have expected. The problem is that the defense is worse than I thought it was going to be. And I was sounding the alarm for months leading up to the season that they didn't do enough on defense. But I thought, well, it's a weak quarterback schedule. It's a weak offenses. Luckily they've got Jared Goff in week 2, or luckily they deal with Trevor Lawrence in his first game as a sophomore in week 1. They have been pushed around on defense constantly. This unit is going to struggle all season. Their linebacking core is thin. Their secondary is at times unable to communicate in a way that helps them to avoid big plays. They give up 3 plays of 49 or more yards this week. 49 or more. 3 plays. Their D-line's really good, guys. You know about John Allen, Daron Payne, Montez Sweat. When he's healthy, he's not right now. Chase Young, that's 4 first-round picks. But they had their top 2 second line, or I should say backup D tackles, leave this offseason. Matt Ioannidis went to Carolina. Tim Settle went to Buffalo. To replace those 2 guys, they brought in 1 guy, so they got worse. And they drafted Fidarian Mathis out of Alabama in the 2nd round. He's out for the year, was lost in week 1. So they're already at D tackle, legitimately, this is not an exaggeration, signing guys off practice squads to get 15 or 20 snaps. I mean, they will have John Ridgeway, who they signed, a 5th-round pick this year, off the Cowboys practice squad, playing a dozen or so or more snaps, I bet you, this week against a team that wants to run the ball. So that's a real problem, and it's a bigger issue than I thought it would be, Jody Mack.
Grant, great stuff. Appreciate you coming on board. Sorry we couldn't hook up earlier. We're going to let you run because I got to let Johnny run too because he's got to get over to a Nick Sirianni press gathering. Appreciate a couple of minutes. Enjoy the game on Sunday.
You're getting from the beach to a press conference that quick?
Yeah, that quick, man. That's quick.
Impressive. No, sorry for my tardiness, and let's talk after the game.
Thanks, Grant.
Grant Paulson from 106.7 The Fan down in D.C. All right, Johnny Mac's got to run. Safe travels across the Ben Franklin, buddy. What game day responsibilities do you have here on JAKIB Media, JAKIB Sports?
Pre-game show, halftime show, post-game show. So you'll get too much of me on Sunday from beautiful Landover, Maryland. And by the way, before I go, Jody, Eagles 26. The Washington, whatever you want to call them, 20. That's what I got.
26-20. So that's not a cover because they're 6.5-point favorites.
26-20.
You're taking the Commanders plus the points. We're very close in our score. I might just edge it over the line to make it a cover rather than a non-cover, but you're going to have to stick around. I'll give my pick out a little later. Johnny Mac out of here. Barrett Brooks will join me next. And coming up in less than 20 minutes from now, Devin Caney will also jump aboard from our Eagles post-game show right here on JAKIB Media as well. Johnny Mac coming back in just a couple. Stick around.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Action News at 11 with Rick Williams. It's the team you trust to bring it all together. The stories that impact your community. A sports roundup for the locals. And the AccuWeather forecast you depend on. Action News at 11 with Rick Williams.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Welcome to Pondley Hockey. We've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. If you've been injured at work, give Pondley Hockey a call.
J-Mac, along with Big B, Double B. Barrett Brooks stopping in to fill the void for John McMullen here. You're looking a little incognito there. What's with the hat and the shades? We got to turn his microphone up here. I'm not hearing him. Is anybody else hearing?
I wasn't unmuted.
There he is. Hello, Barrett.
Good morning. No, these are the computer blocker glasses, whatever you call it. I wear these. I was getting headaches, man. You know, all this time I got on JAKIB Media looking at this computer, I was starting to get headaches. So I started wearing these glasses, and it works out pretty good. And today I just, NFL alumni. That's all today. I was gonna go Phillies. They got to keep rocking and rolling, man. They got to keep rocking and rolling.
That was a good win last night. You got to be able to beat the Braves if you're going to play the Braves in the playoffs. Got to make a little bit of a statement. We got at least even the series out. 2-2. We got to go 2-2 to stay above water, man. We got to. I thought you were going with the shades for professional poker player reasons. I like to play poker. I don't play professionally, but I do like to play, and I think of myself as a good poker player. If I ever attempted to play in a significant poker, I would not wear those stupid things. I don't.
Jody, I suck.
You can't read my slanty little eyes to begin with, so you're not going to be picking up anything from me. I don't need to put any shades on to block my eyes so you can read what I actually have in my hand. But I thought maybe you were going that way. You didn't want to tip your emotions for this. I'm going to force you to tip them because on one of your NBC spots this week, I don't remember which one. I apologize. You were talking the talk, big guy.
Absolutely,
and it was more so that you didn't have much faith or encouragement on the opposition, that you have not been all that impressed by the Commanders in their first couple games. You gave Carson his props for getting his yards, but you think their defense is porous and the Eagles are going to be able to do things against their offense with their improved defense from week 2, from week 1. Am I reading you right, even with the shades on? Am I quoting you correctly that you think this is a little bit of a mismatch on paper between the Eagles and the Commanders?
In a sense, you're right, because it is a mismatch on paper. I think that they're going to be outgunned as far as their defense against our offense. And their offense is pretty good, but I think their offensive line sucks. But my big thing that I noticed from week 1 to week 2 with the Eagles, that I really believe that no matter who they played, they could have played the Rams, they could have played the Bills. Last week's game was totally about them believing in themselves and going out there and dictating tempo, dictating who they were and how they were going to approach this game from this point on. You could tell by the swagger that Slay displayed when he was out there playing against the best receiver in the league, or at least top 3 in the league. You could tell by the way Jalen Hurts went out there with a purpose to show everyone that he does have a gun, that he can throw the ball efficiently and effectively when they want to. The offensive line showed that, all right, we are the number 1 offensive line. We didn't show it last week. We're in that meeting room, and our offensive line coach cussed us out. So we're going to get back to basics, go back to doing what we do. So it's more so this Eagles team playing a bunch of nameless, faceless uniforms out there in helmets. And what they got to do is more critical than what the team can do against them. That's my take on it. That's my take on it.
Fair enough. I didn't want to misquote you, so I wanted to give you the chance to put it into perspective that you wanted to. You did just that. Thank you very much. All right. One of the reasons why I like when you jump aboard here and give us a helping hand on Birds 365 is the fact that you played in the league. I didn't, John didn't, you did. So there are certain things that you can specifically relate to better than any of us ever could. I got to get your take on this. I poked the bear again this morning because the Eagles
that's what you do.
Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys yesterday with rest for practice on a short week where you're not getting much practice in anyway. 9 players were given the day off because they need their rest. I get it. And it has worked in that the Eagles have been relatively healthy. Dillard, the only guy on the injured list, he's going to be out for a while, but the rest of the guys look like they're all going to be good to go on Sunday. And you have to give at least some credence to that, being the fact that the Eagles don't overwork these players. But sloppy offensive line penalties last week. They can't return a kick to save their lives. How much do you look at that and go, well, maybe if they worked on it a little bit more, they'd be a little bit better at it? How do you, Barrett Brooks, as a former NFL player, look at the way the Eagles practice or don't practice?
I'm gonna tell you the truth. I want to poke the bear also. I really want to see, because I'm not that old man, get off my lawn, but I am an old man that played, and the only way you get better by playing football. I understand, but this is week 3. I can understand this was week 10, maybe week 9, week 11. You start getting those days. I played with older players. I played with Richard Dent. Richard Dent played. He only practiced on Thursdays because he was a pass rush specialist, and that's when we did the major part of our passing installations were on those days. So Richard Dent would only practice on those days. Fry guy, Irvin Fry was the same way. He would practice on Thursday and Fridays because, like I said, that's when we did the majority of our installation of our passing game, and really wanted to open the offense up. I played with guys like that. Even when I was with the Steelers, I had our starting left tackle, Marvell Smith. Marvell Smith would only practice on days in which we didn't have pads on. If we had pads on, he couldn't play because he had something wrong with his neck. If if he hit his neck, he would instantly, his arms would just shut down, but he was so good that they kept him. And he wouldn't, just to keep from having that happen during practice, he'd be like that during the game. So he had some neck issues. He practiced only when we didn't have pads on. There's some people that you could do that, but 9 people? You said 9 people?
9 on rest yesterday.
And I bet they
and believe it or not, let me run them down for you real quick, because most of them you would expect, and this is part of what I'm questioning. Certainly Lane.
Yes, older.
Yep.
Kelsey
practiced full yesterday.
He's a trooper.
That's the biggest surprise to me. But Lane, Fletcher,
I can understand that.
AJ Brown, young guy. I know.
He's young. Yeah, I don't know why.
As far as I know, he's out. But is that a reward practice? You don't have to practice because you've been so good for the first couple of games. And they continued to do Sweat because he was a formerly injured guy. Dickerson because he's a former. These guys aren't even 25. And they need a practice. They need a rest day in the middle of a week, middle of a short week from practice. Why?
Yeah, Dixon hadn't pissed a drop yet, and he's getting days like that. I don't understand it, but hey, I digress. Yeah, you're right. Brown does have an injury history, but still, you got to play ball. You got to get that cohesiveness with the guys you're playing with. You got to get the timing right. Yes, your best friend is Hurts, but I just thought that he would practice more. I just feel as though 5 years or more in the league, I guess you get a veteran day, you get a vet day. That was my analysis.
Right.
I never had a vet day because I started my first 6 years of my career, but I backed up the second 6. So if from the second 6 on, if I didn't practice, then why would they have me on the squad? You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be there. So I made sure that I was there, up front and practicing every day just to stay on the squad. I guess when you're that good, you got things wrapped up, you can do things like that. It just never entered my mind that you could even do that. That's not something that I would preach to these younger guys to do either. But it's working right now. They're 2-0.
Right, 2-0 is 2-0.
Very convincing win this last Monday night against a pretty good team. And like it or not, I was telling people that they're just the Vikings. They're the Vikings. You know what I mean? They're the Vikings. At the end of the day, it should beat that team like that. Yes, they have one of the best players in football at receiver, but it still doesn't change that they're still the Vikings. Just like the Detroit Lions are still the Detroit Lions. They don't have enough horses in the race to beat a team with the Eagles if they come in focused. They come in ready to play. On paper, we look so good. I know you have to play the game. We look so good. So I know that they're a good team because on paper it says they're a good team. It's just them go about and accomplish it and playing that way. So more times than not, yes, I'm going to think they're going to win. I'm going to think they're going to win convincingly because I think Nick Sirianni gets his teams ready to play. I may not like the way he does it, but hey, they believe in him. They go out there and they fight for him. So I guess he's doing things the right way. I just wouldn't do it like that. That's not how I was trained up through. But hey, I can remember talking to Guy McIntyre when he first got in the league. He was only making $90,000 a year, starting 2 Super Bowls and making $90,000 a year. So, I understand, I've been around guys say, oh man, look at you. You came in, you made 1.3 over 4 years. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking I'm high on I thought I was rich. As a second round pick, 1.3 over 4 years. Second round picks these days get what? Probably around $15-20 million. Inflation is a bitch.
Yeah, the salary structure in the NFL has changed a little since.
Yes, just a little bit. Yeah.
And you said, and we're giving Nick Sirianni the benefit of the doubt. He's 1 year and 2 games into his coaching career here in Philadelphia. I don't even know how much of this he is dictating. I think it could be an organizational dictate as much as it is a coaching dictate.
I don't know.
But let me ask you this Sirianni question, because he certainly spoke about it this week. During last season, they won a bunch of games in a row. They're beating bad teams. They did clinch a playoff spot, which was telling and exciting. But then we know what happened in the playoff game. This 2-0 start, the way that they played, the way that their if power rankings mean anything, this is the best that the Eagles have been during Nick Sirianni's tenure here in Philadelphia. He was smart to say, we can't read the press clippings. We can't let this get to our heads. He put faith in all of his team leaders and his captains and his veterans and the like. Is there any chance that message doesn't get through and the Eagles come in with a little bit too big a head this week against the Commanders?
I don't think so. Because I just think, I spent a little time with the team back this summer, where I was playing in a celebrity softball tournament that Devontae Smith had, and just being around those guys, being around those younger guys, and I was the only elder statesman there. I was the only former player there. All the other guys were either from other teams or they played with the Eagles, and just talking to those guys and listening to what they were saying. This team understands they got some huge responsibilities for this team. They understand that they're a good team. There's no doubt about it. They feel that they're a good team. They see it that they're a good team. But they're all about that work, man. They're all about getting it done and playing hard. They understand that, they're good, but the only way they can be great is to practice accordingly. Like the competitive nature that these guys have is crazy. I mean, crazy. Even between guys in the same meeting rooms, like Avonte Maddox and Slay, they talk crazy to each other, they're literally competing against themselves in the same room, in the same meeting room. And not to say Slay is talking trash to AJ Brown because he feels though he's the best receiver, so he wants to go against the best. So all these guys understand how good they are, but they also understand the work that it's going to take to be great. They do understand that, and they do put in the work. Now, you say what you want to say about, when they're out there, it's a short time or they don't have, but they're very efficient on how they go out there and take care of their business. They're very efficient. Everything's running the drills. They don't, spend a lot of time messing up. They make sure they get it in. But is it enough for some people? Like you may say Davis needs a little more. He needs a little more as far as practicing, as far as being hard-nosed, mixing it up a little bit. He needs a little more of that. This isn't a team in which he's going to get that, but he needs a little more. He needs to be, down and dirty in the trenches and practicing a lot more. Just because he needs to learn to be more physical. His athletic talent and his physical attributes that he has, he should be totally dominating people. He should be the next Warren Sapp. That's how good he can be. He can be if he applies it. And the one thing I told you about Sapp worked his butt. You said he may have been a butthole. He may have been a guy that, nobody cared for. But when it was time to work, when it was time to get in between those lines, you could not stop. There was nobody could take him off the field. And I think Davis has to get that same mentality on how to approach the game. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to have a little, I know you're not supposed to say this on TV, but more, on JAKIB Media. You got to have a little prick in you. You know what I'm saying? And I think he's a nice guy. It's not until Jordan Mailata got a little prick in him that he became the player he became. You know what I'm saying?
I think we can go with Dog, D-A-W-G.
There you go. All right.
The coach likes that. I think that's darn close to what you called the Eagles defensive tackle should become. All right, one more quickie, then we got to get a break. Then Devin Caney is going to join us. Jordan Mailata off to a slow start. Not saying that he's not blocking well. Might not be blocking well. He's not grading out the way he usually does on Pro Football Focus if you give any credence to their grades. But some foolish penalties, jumping early, getting downfield before he has to, just chalk it up to 2 games. Don't sweat it. The kid's going to be an all-pro, or is there some concern there, Barrett?
You know what? Those penalties, I can't berate the offensive line for it. I can't get on the offensive line about that because people, let me break it down like this, and I hope everybody hears this, the stream. Those penalties that they have, they're penalties that they can't help. When they go to the huddle and they call a play, if it's an RPO, run pass option, the only thing the offensive line hears is the run play. So if it's 15 slant is inside zone. They might go 15 slant, Y stick nod. So that means the offensive line is going to block 15 slant. So if they got a rub to get up to that second backer, they're going to double team and get up to the second backer. If the ball doesn't come out on time, because it's supposed to be a quick read, if the ball doesn't come out on time, you're going to have guys down the field. You can't tell them to come off the ball and block it like run, but hesitate a little bit, because those guys in front of you, they're going to whip you, and you're not going to get any yardage, because if they do hand the ball off, it'll be tackled 5 yards in the backfield. These guys are too good to be playing around. Either you call it a run play and run the run, or you call it a pass play and block the pass. But if you get in that little hairy area of all right, if the ball does not come out as soon as, like, it should be a read, block, read, and get the ball out. It should be no more than a second and a half, 2 seconds before the ball should be coming out the quarterback's hands.
Right.
Any other time, they're going to be down the field. They're going to be down the field.
Not surprisingly, Barrett Brooks, defending offensive lineman.
I guess I tell the truth, man.
They can do no wrong as far as Barrett is concerned. All right, we're going to take a quick time out here on Birds 365. We did get Grant Paulson up for a short segment because he was late. Devin Caney hasn't jumped into our green room yet, but she's supposed to join us here. First time ever on Birds 365, but you can catch her on the Eagles postgame show each and every single week from Oceans here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Hoping to get Devin. If not, I'll continue to listen to Barrett sing the praises and forgive everything that the Eagles offensive line has done wrong in the first couple of weeks.
I'm my brother's keeper.
Yeah, you are. Jody McDonald with Barrett Brooks here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Action News at 11 with Rick Williams. It's the team you trust to bring it all together. The stories that impact your community. A sports roundup for the locals. And the AccuWeather forecast you depend on. Action News at 11 with Rick Williams.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Welcome to Pondley Hockey. We've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. If you've been injured at work, give Pondley Hockey a call.
Appreciate you streaming on in here to Birds 365. It's a football Friday. Johnny Mack was here for hour number one, but he had to run over to the NovaCare Complex. Nick Sirianni will be dispersing whatever information he feels he can without losing the competitive advantage he needs against the Washington Commanders.
You called in the righty. You called in the righty. So here I am. You called in the
big righty coming out of the pen, looking like Alvarado out there on the hill last night, getting the job done for the Phillies. Barrett Brooks getting the job done for us. All right. This week against the Commanders, Eagles come in as a 6.5-point favorite. It's a divisional game. It's a quote-unquote rivalry game. You were a Bird for a good couple of years. Just as a guy getting ready for one of when you played 16, now 17 games, is it different when you're playing either used to be the Skins when you played them, now the Commanders, or the Giants or the Cowboys? Is the prep, is the feeling, is there a difference getting ready for a game against one of your divisional foes?
It is, especially when you played back when I played. I mean, because even though just like the Giants, they weren't that good when we were playing them. But I tell you what, I always had a battle because I was going against Michael Strahan. So I had to, make sure my chin strap was strapped up every single time I played against the Giants. Then when I went and played against Dallas, I had Charles Haley. So another time I had to, strap my, my helmet up and let's roll. Everybody else might have good days off, but not me. I mean, and even against, the Washington back then, they had this guy named Ken Harvey. Ken Harvey was probably the third or fourth best player I played against during my tenure in the NFL. And I played against some great ones. I mean, everywhere from Bruce Smith to like I said, Charles Haley, Mr. White, who was no doubt the best player I ever played against, Leslie O'Neal, Chris Dolman, Pat Swilling. I played against some of the best pass rushers, Simeon Rice, that you could ever play against. I mean, if any of those guys were playing right now, I guarantee they'd have 15, 20 sacks. You know what I mean? That's how good the players I played against were. And Ken Harvey was probably ranked number 3. So when I talk about guys that can rush the passer and you going in and you're playing a division foe, these were mix up, drag them out, running the ball, hitting in the mouth. Division games, you iced up after division games. You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely you definitely had to come, with your lunch pail and come to work every single time. Now, I don't think it's to the degree that we had it back in the day, but I think it's still a rivalry. This is still a rivalry game. They're going to get their best from the Commanders, no question. And plus, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder with, trying to play for Carson Wentz. They're going to give it all. But like I said against Detroit, once they get past their first initial wave, they'll get back into okay, yeah, we're not that good. I remember that. Let me get back. I tried to do it for you, Carson, but hey, we're not that good. And I think that's what if you put it on them early, and you got to stomp on them early, they'll get back into being who they really are. You know what I'm saying? I think they've lost the message in their head coach. I don't think that he Coach Rivera, he's a great coach, but I think they're lost in transition.
Really? You think 2 weeks in that Rivera's already lost the room?
Absolutely. I mean, look at the defense. The defense is supposed to be your strong point. The defensive line is supposed to be spearheading this entire team. And they fired their defensive line coach like 2 weeks before they or maybe even shorter than that, into camp. They fire him. How do you do that? You fire your guy, Sam Mills' son, they fire him? Come on, man. You can't do that.
You mentioned Carson Wentz. We had Graham Paulson on from 106.7 The Score down in D.C. and
I'll be on their show. I'll be on their show today.
Okay, cool. I asked him about do you buy the fact that Carson was attempting to sell it's just another game? He's not on a bet. Joe, stop it, Carson. How did you say that with a straight face? He didn't believe it for a millisecond. I don't know how many of us did. Probably very few. Opposite way to look at it. Eagle teammates, former Eagle teammates now playing for against Carson Wentz. Understood that the quarterback is a different position than any other position. And even Jalen Hurts was only here 1 year. He replaced Carson when he probably didn't think he was going to be replacing Carson. He kind of got thrown into the deep end of the pool, and he made the most of it. The season was already, talk about having lost the room. Yeah, Doug had lost the room that year, and the Eagles were going nowhere fast, so they didn't really do much with Mr. Hurts at quarterback in his rookie season. But how do you think they handled it coming into this week? Extra motivation for them?
Well, I know one individual will definitely have a lot of motivation. That'll be Jalen Hurts, even though he downplayed it also. You talk about a guy that I don't think, he said the right things. I respect Carson and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you look at Carson and the relationship those two had. You saw the second-round pick come in here. Carson was already shell-shocked from having Nick Foles win the Super Bowl. And every time he goes into work to his stadium, he's the guy that just got the contract. You see a picture of your head coach and Nick Foles sitting there instead of you. You had won what? They won 13 games going into the playoffs, and he was a major contributor on how you do it. He was having an MVP season, gets hurt, they win the Super Bowl, and everybody forgets about poor little old me, Carson Wentz. So he definitely has a chip on his shoulder. But then you come in, and the year before they let him go, they draft this rookie in the second round. He comes in. He's magical on how he goes in and gains the respect of the entire team. You see people starting to weigh towards his charisma, in Jalen Hurts. They see that, and here he's like, all right, here we go again. Then they're trying to force feed him these run RPOs and his option plays for Jalen Hurts, and he's pissed off about that. And then Carson planning to play hero bowl to show everybody, look, this is my team. It doesn't work. We went four games and tied a game. It was just a bad mix. Then, you got the head coach. He's not getting along with the head coach. He's calling plays, and he's changing the head coach's plays, and it was just a bad situation. Then, you got a guy that's unaccountable in Carson. He knows best. He knows everything. And, I was always told, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you know so much, then you should be the coach. And he never took accountability for that. And then you have Hurts sitting there. And he's seeing all this stuff going on around him. He's got his game plan, yeah. And he goes into the last season. They bench Carson. In the last 4 games, he starts. So he plays 3.5 games. Kind of shows this team that he's ready to play. And then they bench him halfway through the game so they can tank a game to get a better draft. It's just a whole bunch of stuff that that was on the two guys' back. And it's all going to come to a head this game. This game, Carson, and he wasn't the best leader in the locker room. I don't even think some guys even respected him. And I think this is going to be a get back game for the times that he didn't say what's up to a guy in the shower that they felt as though he should have said what's up to, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
I'm interested. I think it's interesting that you said Hurts is the guy that you think is motivated the most coming in.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, the quarterbacks are never on the field at the same time. I have to explain this to a former NFL player. Now, let me ask you about a defensive guy. Fletcher Cox, for the most part, when Carson was here, took his back. That he always, whenever asked, said
they got the same likes.
Excuse me?
They have the same likes. They like the same interests. They're hunters.
Oh, really? You think that you think they bonded over hunting?
Yes, bonded over guns, hunting. Yeah, that's okay. They're outdoorsmen. Fletcher's the biggest country boy on the team. You guys thought it was Carson. No, it's Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox has like 100 acres down there. He has a pond on. They go hunting and fishing and everything else. He invited me down there one time. He said he got 10-pound bass in the lake. I got to go down and get that. I got to go. I'm telling you, I got to go down and fish in that lake. A 10-pound bass. He says he catches those on a regular. I got to get down to his spot, man. He's got a little compound down there, So I heard it's really nice.
So when we used to hear stories of Carson inviting his offensive linemen out to the woods with him for whatever outdoor games they played,
right?
You think Fletcher was on those too?
Oh yeah. He and Fletcher got along because and I'm not gonna say that. That Carson was a bad dude. Carson was a great dude if you were like-minded with him. If you weren't like-minded on the same trail that he was on, it's not that he shunned you or anything, but he just didn't have much to say to you. You know what I'm saying? He can relate, man. He's a faith-based guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everything's right about that. But you got to understand also, it's not, if you're a Christian, it's not, as a Christian, you should want to be around the bad people or the people that are heathens, because you want to win them over. And I don't think that he tried to do that because he didn't know how to do that really in the locker room. So it kind of seemed like he ignored others on the team because they were young or, and going out and things of that nature. They may be not doing what he would do. So he didn't have time for them because of that.
So
you know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't have got along with Carson if I were a player because in my 20s, I would probably fall into the heathen category.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. So he had no time for that.
My own separate route. All right. A couple things for you, Double B. And again, it's one of those days. We got Grant Paulson up for just a couple of minutes. He was late joining the show. Maybe she's afraid. Who do you think Devin Caney's afraid of? You or me? Do you know her at all? I've never met her.
I've been in her presence one time. I did a show with her. She's very, very, very nice person. Very nice, very, very knowledgeable.
And she does a good job on here. She does a great job here on our post-game show, and I've caught her on WIP. She's very good.
You got to be good to work. Can you imagine working with that cast on their post-game? Can you D-Gun, number one, we battle every day as it is. We battle every day. But then you have Seth, my former post-game host with me at NBC. You got those two together. Then Mike Missinelli, one of the big villains / great guys that were in radio for the past couple of years. I mean, and then she's there to just take it all in and still is able to shoot in and give her points also. You got to be a strong-natured person, a strong-minded person. You got a strong nature to be in with them. That's a lot of egos in one place. Some huge egos.
and she does, but it's not too hard to be a baby face when you're talking about those three other guys. So there are ways that she can get her point across and come off looking good, which she always does, and she has so far, but just not today. You're with us. So let me ask you this: two things about the Eagles, and again, for the Eagle fans out there who want us only to point to the positives and the upsides and the fact that they are, for 2 weeks, one of the best teams in the National Football League. If you point out some of the potential pitfalls, you'll only be better prepared for them down the road. Did I sell that well enough? I tried.
There you go.
All right. Couple of games in, the opposition's tight ends have been okay. Hawkinson got a bunch of catches week 1. No big plays, kept him in front, but he got 4 catches. This past week, Irv Smith had a couple of catches. Oh, by the way, had one big drop that if he had caught that one at that stage of the game, it actually could have been a different type of game. Absolutely. Now, I gave Chauncey Gardner-Johnson credit for that. He was late getting there. He didn't touch the ball, but I thought him getting his hand up kind of got in Irv Smith's face, and I think that helped create the drop. So I give Gardner credit for that, but you shouldn't even have to do that, Chauncey. You should be there. You're supposed to get your hand on that ball, not be there late and have him behind you, and he could have just walked into the end zone. They've had some issues with the tight end. Will that be a question this week? Logan Thomas, the Commanders tight ends, a very good pass catching tight end.
When healthy, he's one of the better tight ends in the league.
Top 6, top 7, top 8 in the league. Is that a concern? Who do you think is going to do the coverage on their tight end this week?
It's going to be, CJ Johnson, CJ Garner Johnson. He's a guy that baptism by fire. They bring him in to play safety. He's been a slot corner for the majority of his career. He's played safety before, but it's not been in his system. That's kind of why I was like, well, if you bring this guy in, why don't you just put him back at slot? Because I think he's a more aggressive slot than Avonte Maddox. Not to say he's better, but he's more aggressive. In saying that, you could put Avonte Maddox as safety. He knows the system. He understands how to play the game. And all he had to do is really say, all right, I know where my help is supposed to be. I'm going to be the help that I needed when I was playing the slot. I think I thought it would have been an easier transition. Man, but they want Chauncey, CJ at the safety position. So I get it, and he will be a pretty good safety, a pretty reliable safety once he learns his fit. in the defense. He doesn't necessarily know his fits yet. He doesn't know his run fits yet. He doesn't know where he's supposed to fit at as far as tackling, making plays, who's the widest guy. All that stuff is learned. He's going to learn as he goes along. And he's getting better. He played a hell of a lot better than he played against Detroit, against Minnesota. He did a lot better. And I say he's going to do the same thing this next game. He's going to fit in the progression. At safety, you got to be the last line of defense, the deepest guy on the field. And when you're an aggressive type of player like he is, you might get caught sometimes peeking. So he'll learn, the little idiosyncrasies that comes with playing safety. He'll be fine. I just understand this. You got to be willing to take bumps and bruises and asking for a guy to come out and play in a position he hasn't played he hadn't played his entire career to be great at that position. You're going to take some bumps and bruises. And I think that he's a good enough athlete that he can replace, if he does get out of position, he'll get back and, get where he's supposed to go, and hopefully it doesn't hurt him. But I like him going out and covering Logan Thomas. You put him man-to-man against him, I got my money with Garner Johnson all day long.
Glad to hear that. And
all day long.
Well, where I'll agree with you, and I think Eagle fans should take heart in this. Oh, he's going to get better every single week. Mm-hmm. I think he's one of those guys that it's never going to be a question of effort or confidence.
Nope, exactly.
It just needs to be a repetition. Now, I'm back again to Eagles practice less than my fourth grade basketball team did. But they're going to play 17 games, and with each and every single game, I expect Johnson to get better, and I think it will only be better. And this will be a nice little test for him this week, because Logan Thomas is one of the better tight ends. All right, here's my other slight concern. Well, actually, in addition to the fact that they can't return a kick at all, and John and I did enough of that in hour number one. I won't drag you into
I know. I want to get dragged into that. That's a major. That's a major burden.
Then how much have they underestimated the importance of this? They're 2-0. They're a top 5 ranked power team. They laugh when guys like you and I go, your kicking game, return game stinks. They go, do you see the standings? Do you see the power rank? We're one of the best teams. Shut up with the ability to run back.
No, we're not. We're not.
Right,
we're not flipping the field. We're not flipping the field. It used to be that our special teams was a major, major weapon. Remember we had, Donnie Longball. It's not just a return game. It's special teams, period. I mean, Jake Elliott is he's a Pro Bowler. We're not worried about Jake Elliott. He's fine. Although we had a field goal blocked this last game, you can't continue.
Well, not Jake. That's not Jake's fault.
Exactly. So you can't, but that's something that we got to work with. Our special teams are just stinking out loud right now. It's just so happened the two teams we played against were just better than they are, better athletes than they are. Super, the punter, his game-saving tackle, because it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot closer. With that gives him a little. I mean, what if he returned it? If they return that, it puts the game, in the fourth quarter a lot closer, and then they might be playing a lot better as opposed to what they played in the fourth quarter when they down whatever they were. That was crucial. That was a crucial point in the game when that happened. I mean, that could have flipped the tide very easily. That was a game-saving tackle, and then they end up with a turnover, that drive. But still, though, you can't do that, and I remember Coach Phipps. Coach Phipps, the last special team coach that was here, who's now in Detroit now, he actually was a weapon for the team. The special teams was a weapon. We would flip the field all the time and put their offense backed up all the time. We haven't been doing that lately. That's something that we're not even paying attention to, but that's crucial. That is crucial. And our return game is null and void. We're not giving our offense a chance, when we're fielding balls at the 5-yard line, 7-yard line. That means we got to drive it, 90 yards down the field, 80 yards down the field every single time we get it. So, I mean, it could be a decided advantage if we had somebody to return, even on kickoffs. I hope the ball bounces into the end zone every single time. I don't know what we got going on. Quez Watkins is not that dude returning kicks. He's just not that guy. I don't see the explosiveness. I don't see the quick twitch. You need to be a joystick type of player when you're back. He's not that guy. He's a straight line runner, and he hasn't had an opportunity to run in straight lines yet. So we can't see what he can do from the kickoff position.
There's no Darren Sproles here on this roster as of right now. We agree
No,
on that.
exactly.
All right, here's the other one I want to get before we get our final timeout in, Barrett. Quickie quiz for you, Mr. Brooks.
All right.
How many points? And I know it's a small sample size. It's only 2 games, but it is what it is. How many points have the Philadelphia Eagles scored in the fourth quarter so far this year?
None. 0.
Now, they didn't really need to score points this past
Right.
game against the Vikings, but it would have been nice.
Yes.
You had
yes.
you had your foot on their throat. They tried to wriggle off, and the defense says, no. The defense kept their foot on the throat. The offense, not so much. Against Detroit, you let them back into a game that you're up by 17 points going to the fourth, and all of a sudden you look up, they're only up 3. What the hell? They have not had a fourth quarter closeout yet. Is that going to be necessary this week?
I don't think it'll necessarily be necessary this week. I think that Coach Steichen, I mean, it's not as though he took his foot off the gas, but his play selection became more of a deterrent to keeping the other opposing offense off the field. I mean, sometimes you just got to say, you know what, it's not always good to score all the time. Maybe we need to hold the ball a little longer, keep the opposing offense off the field. So we're going to call plays that are more so not shot plays, but plays that are consistently good, and we run them well, and we can keep our offense on time on the field. And, you know, that's a decided advantage. We'll take over the clock as opposed to taking over the scoreboard. So, I mean, I think that's a major part on how they call plays in the second half of last week's game. You started running the ball a little more. You saw Miles Sanders start running a little more. You saw, they just started really just ground and pounding and making sure that they kept their offense out there. So I think that's the only problem. I mean, it's not even a problem. I think that's just what they tried to do. They knew they had the game wrapped up. They knew the opposing offense wasn't going to score over 17 points. 17 points is like what they call the high water mark for NFL teams as far as great defense. If you can keep a team under 17 points as a defense, you've won the game, and that's what most defensive mindsets are. Don't score 17 points. Offense scores over 17 points, you usually win the game. The statistics are crazy. How glaring that is. Hold the team under 17 points and you'll win the game. So they were there. They kept them at that high water mark, below that high water mark, and they were good. So, I mean, I think that was more so Steichen just understanding he needed to make sure they stayed on the field longer and keep that offense off the field.
All right, then we'll come back and find out if Barrett thinks the Commanders are going to score 17 points or more or less. I'll give you my final score as well. We'll come back, put a bow on the show here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Action News at 11 with Rick Williams. It's the team you trust to bring it all together. The stories that impact your community. A sports roundup for the locals. And the AccuWeather forecast you depend on. Action News at 11 with Rick Williams.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Welcome to Pond Lee Hockey. We've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lee Hockey a call.
Mac guys here on Birds 365. It's Mac and Big D. Barrett Brooks here filling in for Johnny Mac. You'll get Johnny Mac pregame, postgame, halftime, drop in out of the sky and just never turn off the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, and chances are you're going to see Johnny Mac. But I appreciate Barrett filling in for John for the second hour here today. All right, we're running out of time, so we need to get on the record. So far this year, I am 2-0 in picking Eagle victories. I thought they'd win both games. They did. I thought they'd cover both games. They only covered one. They didn't cover against the Lions week 1. The Eagles are a 6.5-point favorite on the road against a Commanders team. Barrett Brooks, how do you see this game shaking out? Give me a score.
I'm going 31-17. Birds win.
17. All right. So you think it's going to be easy? Yeah, they win by 2 touchdowns. That I would consider that an easy game. It comes down to who tacks on the last couple of points. But if you've got them winning by 2 touchdowns, that's pretty easy. All right. We're in the same neighborhood. I did it strictly by the math this week. You take the amount of points that the Eagles have scored, divide by 2. That's how much they average per game. How much they give up per game, divide by 2. What Washington has scored, divide by 2. What their number is per game, what they usually give up. The final score as per the numbers, and I do this every week with games that I specifically have a liking for, and then I add my own evaluation into it. The numbers said this week, 31-24 Eagles. What the Eagles have scored and what the Washington football team has given up and what the Washington football team has scored and what the Eagles defense has given up says 31-24 Eagles. And you want to know something? It's so perfect, I'm not going to adjust it. Usually I get a number and then I move it because it almost always comes out at like 22 or 25.
Right.
You never end up on 22 or 25 points for an NFL score. So you got to move it around a little bit. I don't even have to move it. Final score, Eagles 31, Commanders 24. Eagles win by a touchdown, which at 6.5 means a minute cover by the Eagles.
Right.
I definitely like the over. I think there's going to be 50 some odd points scored. And I think the over-under is 45. Yeah. So I like the over better than the actual point spread in this game.
Well, you know what? I mean, that's exactly what it is. I just really think that when you look at what this Eagles team, they're going to take care of business just because they're supposed to take care of business. It's like they're going to work. Yes, it's a rivalry game, but I think they're seeing themselves as more than just playing a rivalry team. I think they're just going in and it's like bringing their briefcase to work. They're just going to go out there, win the game, and it's going to be business as usual. We'll go in on Monday, start it all over again, and prepare for the next opponent. This is going to be a business. This is going to be a business type of atmosphere for this Eagles team going into this game.
Birds taking care of business. I like
yes,
it.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
You got a couple hours before sports take. What are you going to do with your bad self?
Oh, you know, the wife, she just had her knee replaced yesterday.
Yikes.
So she just got back from therapy, man. As soon as she got out therapy, they had her moving her leg, walking with it. Now she's just getting back from therapy just now. So I got to go down. I guess, cook her some breakfast so she can take her medicine.
There you go. You.
And then,
what are you making? What is Chef Barrett best at?
Well, she gonna be sitting down, so she doesn't want to get anything fattening. So I'll just probably make her some eggs and bacon.
Okay,
just protein, just protein.
Eggs and bacon from Chef Barrett. Well, we appreciate your cooking it up with us here today. We'll certainly be catching you a little bit later with Rob and D Gunn on Sports Take. BB, always a pleasure, bud.
Thanks a lot, bro. Appreciate you. Sometimes you got to call in the righty, man. I like coming up, bro.
Appreciate the shades. That is Barrett Brooks. All right, that'll do it for us here on Birds 365. Our boy Rick Saratella coming up next. John and I both have the Eagles winning. He has them, what do you say? 26-20? 26-20. I say 31-24. Barrett says 31-17. So we're 3 for 3.
Yep.
Good luck to the Eagles on Sunday. We'll be back here Monday on Birds 365 and 2-2 days, that is.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.